Welcome to the Red Hot Mic. I'm your host, G. Alfred Palmer, and I want to just say that we have been talking to no one for the last few minutes, but we're here, and let's get busy. I want to welcome you, and not only welcome you, but ask you to do me a favor, and that is to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and hit the notification bell so that we can grow this channel and share more of what we're going to be sharing tonight. Because it's about ruminating, elevating, and activating. It's about us moving to another place, another level. And I'm excited about being able to do that tonight with you. I have to check because I tell you, sometimes I anyway. But look, tonight we're gonna do business like we normally do. But what I've done is I've added a little bit. You probably didn't notice, but I was also using. I was also live on Instagram. So we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube and Twitter. We're doing all four of these different platforms. Um, uh, I mean, StreamYard is not really a platform, but we're those are the platforms that we're using. With four different platforms, and what we introduced um, Instagram to the program tonight, and even gave them an opportunity to come in with us and to be able to come into the chat and come on to the link to this broadcast. And that's what we're going to do. Because we want to get the word out, and we're asking you to do that. Would you spread and share the link to the Red Hot Mic? Because what we're doing is once again we're the whole idea is for us to ruminate, elevate, and to activate. And I can only do that with your help. I can't do it without you. Tonight we're going to get busy, and as usual, we're going to start out with our sin of the evening. Our sin of the evening is one that we might have done before, but again, I'm trying to get away from the more woodsy kinds of fragrances. Excuse me, because of the time of year, and try to come into more flowery and more citrusy kinds of scents. And the reason is because those woodsy ones kind of get up in your face, and they really are pronounced and can be a little bit stuffy in the summer months. So what we want to do is go with more flowery kinds of and more flowery and citrusy kinds of scents that are less pronounced. They flow. They peekaboo on you, as opposed to just hitting you upside the head like some of the woodsies may do, and some of the other incense and all those kinds of things. So we're trying to be a little bit more sensitive and bring some of those up to you and allow you to maybe go out and look for some of these that we're talking about. And this is one that I've used before, but I really do like I do like the scent. It's called Prada Luna Rosa EDT, and it is a really, really pleasant fragrance. As usual, I'm going to put it on and rub it in. Oh, yeah, I like that a lot. Okay. This particular Luna Rosa is a sly, cool cologne featuring the cleansing cold fire of sage and spearmint with a bread's natural peppery spice. So it does have some spice in it. Oh man, this is good. It really is good. It has a fresh lavender, crisp orange citrus, and tangy musks highlight the aromatic feel. And it's really lavender, mint. It's like a bitter orange, sage, and musk. Oh, fabulous. Simply fabulous. This scent is something that without a shadow of a doubt. Oh man, it. I don't think you want to wear this to work. You don't want to. No, this might get you in trouble. This is to me, it's a little bit more romantic. It's a little bit more intimate. It's something that I think if you're going to go out and you're going to spend some time with that special someone, this is a good scent for you to wear, because I don't think it's going to hang around very long, but I think it'll hang around long enough for you um, to make an impression. Okay, to make an impression, and I think that's good. I like it. I like it. And I would highly recommend Prada, Luna Rosa EDT. Looks, and this is the a picture of the bottle. I don't have the bottle. I have little small testers. So that's something, and I'm probably gonna have to get that one though. Anyway, thank you for joining me once again. Come on in this house. It's lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, out there. So you need to come on in this house so that we can elevate, that we can expand and extend. And that's what it's all about. Now, I'm getting ready to go out west in a couple of days. I'm going to be in Las Vegas, and I'm going to be doing some broadcasting from there. I'll be doing some shorts and things like that from Vegas, and showing you the sights and just hitting you with some thoughts and some sights and sounds as I'm out there in Vegas for the next few days, and then I'll be back for a little while, and then I'm off again. But I really do appreciate you being able to spend this time with me, because you could be doing so many other things right about now, but you're spending this time with yours truly, and I am truly grateful. Um, I said this. I was talking about this before I noticed that we weren't live. But uh, I've found this uh, Netflix series, and some of you may already be acquainted with it, but I wasn't, because. Um, but I did hear a content creator mention something in this area, and I didn't know if it was this particular show or not. But anyway, even though I looked at, I tuned into this show, I began to see some things that that I have been talking about for a while. Now, I've been, uh, as I've always said, I am a watchman, and one of the things that a watchman does is a watchman gets up on the wall and observes the trends and the terrain and the things that are coming across the terrain that may be a threat, or an opportunity, and how something may expose the weaknesses of that we may have. Let me get rid of this, and also to also allow us to not only deal with our uh, supposedly weaknesses, but also to accentuate our strengths and discuss them as well. So, um, I have been talking about this particular thing for a while, and what happened was, in watching this series, it's called Alone. It's called Alone. Excuse me. And this series, what they were doing is they would this particular series was called Alone Grizzly Mountain. And in this particular, and this is spoiler alert, I'm trying not to get in and speak to the different things that happened on the series, but at the same time um, to use this opportunity to accentuate what I'm seeing and how it applies to what we've been talking about here on the Red Hot Mic. Okay, so let me get situated a little bit here. The program, the Alone, um, was dealing with 10 people, 10 people who were survivalists, and they were volunteers out in terms of I don't know. It was in Canada. I'm not sure exactly where it was. In Quebec. I'm not sure where, but it was isolated area, and it was a highly populated area for grizzly bears and mountain lions and other wildlife that some predators, some prey, and these 10 individuals were allowed to take 10 items with them. They picked the items which they thought that would be able to help them sustain themselves there, to outlast all the other contestants, and whoever was the last remaining contestant was going to get $500,000, $500,000. Not a lot of money, but anyway, it's a lot of money for some people. Um, and went out to this area, and you know, one of the things that I noticed is that there were all kinds of things that were basically that they had heard to traverse over. They had to deal with some really really tough things, um, above the obvious. But just to name a few of the things, one of the things that they had to at first, what I noticed is that they were very excited about it, and we get like that, don't we? A new environment, a new job, a new city, a new house, a new opportunity. We look at, and we get those things, and once we get them, there's such an excitement about it, that we fail. And it's like a honey, even with relationships, isn't it? There's a honeymoon period, and we are so happy and so elated of whatever it is that we're experiencing. In this particular case, these people were in a very scenic wood lake area, lots of water and and woods and animals, but it was there. It was in their wheelhouse. They really really seemed to enjoy being there. Um, at least until once the helicopter or the boat left, and they were there with, and listen, these people were by themselves. They were dropped off at different portions, different places by themselves. They were nowhere near each other. They were nowhere near each other, miles and miles from anywhere, any civilization. They were only there by themselves. Now, um, and it was very scenic, and you could tell they were very excited once they got dropped off. And then after a while, the reality of begin to settle in. And one of the things that some people say that they enjoy isolation, being by themselves. Well, here's the thing: we're not really meant to be alone. That's not a species. We're social beings, and that social piece is vital to our existence, and it's critical to us being able to and to do that. We have to develop in that it makes us more amenable and pleasing to be around. Um, but some folks like being alone. Okay, but you need people. We need each other, and that's why we're one another. So once their transportations dropped them off, now there began to be different ideas and different approaches on how they were going to move about, whether they were going to get food first or whether they were going to build shelter. Because mind you, this was not only a scenic area, but the weather was very, very, very tumultuous. The weather, when they first got there, it seemed to change quickly, and so it became very cold, wet, and snowy. So those kinds of things begin to play a role as well. And so they they had to make a decision. Most thing was going to be shelter. Now, and that is important for all of us. Having a place where we can lay our head, having a place that we can call home is very important. Now, mind you, they weren't home, but I want to making here between that being their home, their temporary home, but yet home, they had to get into their mind that it's going to be home, for however long it's going to be. So they had to get in out of their mind that it was a temporary home, and it had to be a now it's like that in our own situations. We have to look at how life um, presents itself, and we've got to look at the situations that present themselves to us. We have to ascertain how we want to deal with them, and what would be the most strategic, the more intelligent way, an intellectual way of traversing and being able to manage the particular situation that they were in or we're in. So it's not only where you lay your head, but it's a place of protection. Okay. So there's so many needs that are met by shelter. We get the safety, we get the security, we get the protection, we get the ability to rest and to eat and all those things. So it serves a tremendous um, benefit. But at the same token, in that particular setting, um, you know, they didn't have food, and so prior to coming would be that which you would burn while trying to um, build shelter. And so some people decided that food was more important. So it's always someone's going to decide differently than what you would. Now, not everybody's going to think they want to think that that housing would be the most important. Some would think that food would be more important because we need to be able to sustain our energy, our strength, because of the setting that we're in. We've got to be able to be aware and alert, come up with an idea and a plan on how to approach this particular ordeal. And that's the same thing with us, And so what I begin to see in this particular series is what I've been talking about on this channel. I've been talking about the 8 elements of masculine and feminine development. And so they played a great big role. I would begin to see them play out on the positive or the negative in this series. And I just wanted to talk a little bit, without giving away and spoiling as much as I can, the series for those that would like to go and see it. I would say that it would be something that would be very interesting to view. I'm glad I looked at it. And I've been, and it's 12 episodes, but I believe there was something like 5 or 6 other series where they've done the same thing in other parts of the world, where in other challenging environments. But this one was really challenging. When you start talking about cold weather, you're talking about some really, really, really dangerous situations. But so what I noticed is the idea of where they started to come and they had to make a plan. What is your plan for your life? Now, what we have to understand is this: these people had a purpose. Their purpose was to come on this island or come in this area, and their purpose was to outlast everyone. That was their purpose. They all had the same purpose, but their reason for that purpose was different, which makes purpose different because purpose is never the same for anyone. Okay, but they went about how they were going to map out how they were going to that was set before them. And so they had many of them were just the first night. Uh, they had a tent with sleeping bags, and they would just sleep outdoors, which I wouldn't have done. But I mean, hey, however, that's what some of them did there and got right away busy with building shelter because they probably already made start planning while they were going what was they're going to be doing first things first, and that's what we have to do. We just don't sit around and just observe. If you know you're going somewhere and you have to start planning, and that's what happened. These people got there, and some planned and some didn't. Some got to work right away, and some didn't. But and so time began to you could see them all the time, and they would go from contestant to contestant, so you could see what they were doing and how they were faring and some of the challenges that they were having. And one of the things that concerned me was that some of the people had medical problems, which for some reason the camera went out. So I'm sorry about that. Sorry. Um, anyway, so where was I? Um, these people began to do whatever they needed to do to get settled in, and we too have to do those similar things. What's important? What is your plan? What is your purpose? Okay, purpose is always going to be important. Now, purpose isn't your passion. Purpose is your reason is your why. It's your reason for being. And so, with the reason for being there, okay, it wasn't for some people it was to win the money. For some people it was to take care of their family. For some people it was to do some things for themselves, to better their livelihood, to be able to change the way that they were living and do some things differently. I'm hoping that this we don't have any problems with broadcasting this because it just went out. I don't know what happened. But anyway, we're going to keep going. Okay, so these people were uh, in this environment, and they had to make a choice of how they were going to approach the challenge. And what happened is they begin to get real busy. You get real busy with doing whatever it is that you need to do, whether that's food, shelter, whatever it is. You get busy. But even with getting busy, the mind begins to work, doesn't it? Even we see that all the time. We can be busy at work, but our mind is somewhere else. There's other things that are on our mind. Okay, and that mental conditioning, that those cognitive things begin to come into play. Okay, this is a part of are the the 8 elements of masculine and feminine development. Because mind you that they were both men and women on this particular truck or adventure, if you would. There were men and women, and so you had different challenges. Um, Whereas one woman would was make sure she was able to wash clothes. There were some guys that looked like they didn't bathe while they were there the total whole time. I mean, it was just, but anyway, I mean, everybody has their different way that they're going to approach what they're doing. But what happened is because the mind is able to work independently of the physical body or the physiological piece, certain things begin to play on their mind, whatever those things are. We're all like that. There's certain things that they may be strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strengths that are threats that begin to come in and creep in, and we think about them and how would I handle this? How would I face this? If this happens, what will I do? If that happens, what will I do? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it becomes important to know and understand that your mind it has an independence of itself. You can't control your mind. Thoughts will come. You can focus your attention, but even when you're focusing your attention, sometimes thoughts will creep in. We know that, don't we? You all know that. So here these people are. They are going about whatever they're doing, whether it's building housing, locating food, setting up traps, doing whatever it is they're doing. They're taking care of business. They're looking for wood, or they're looking for adequate shelter. They're looking whatever. They're doing those things. But yet the mind is playing tricks. And so what eventually happens is, once they start slowing down, loneliness begins to settle in. Now, some people have a different idea of loneliness. Some people like being alone for whatever reason. But again, we're social beings. We're meant to be social beings. Most of these people had families, and that's another thing. When you have family and you're close with your family, those things begin to just weigh on you and play a part on you. And it's important for you to understand how to deal with that with family. Family becomes an important issue. And I was thinking about, while I was watching this program, how settlers and those that came over here from foreign countries, how they handle things. Some had their families with them, but some did not. Some were in similar situations that these people were in. How did they handle them when they weren't able to get back to their family, when they weren't able to have their family with them because of the terrain or the weather or the geographical region or whatever? And so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about how these people that came here, our settlers and those people that came before us, how tough these people were, how tough they were. And today we have, I remember hearing the statement that, there's a difference in knowing that you can't leave than from knowing that you can leave, but that you don't want to leave for whatever reason. And so if those settlers couldn't leave, that probably has a different kind of connotation on your attitude and your mentality, as opposed to being able to leave, because most of these guys that were on the island, they had a sat phone, and then the sat phone was connected to the people that were the program people, and if there was, all they had to do was press a button and say that they were tapping out, and then they would come, whether that's by boat or by helicopter, to come get them and take them home. And so that's how they would leave. But also, what also would happen is that they would periodically come and check on these people and do weight checks and and mental health checks and things of that nature to make sure that they were okay. I don't know how frequently those things happen, but they did show those kinds of things. So it goes to show you some very significant things. First of all, and we talk about this in our 8 elements. We talk about the idea of physiological development. I should say the physiological development being your body, being in shape, being fit, having good condition, good health. There were some people that didn't have good health. There were some people that were overweight. It kind of bode well for them that were overweight, because even if they weren't able to find food, they had the excess weight that their body could feed on, and some lost tremendous amounts of weight while going through this ordeal. So physiologically, developing is important for our sustainability and the way we live our lives. It's important that you take care of yourself. It's important that you be fit, because we don't know what kind of challenges life will bring us, but we need to have some semblance of physical fitness or physical health or good health to be able to meet the challenge. Some of these people were not able to do that. They were not able to do that, and they took a chance for $500,000 with their health. And some of them, it was pretty drastic, because one guy lost over 90 pounds. 90. I mean, and it's in a relatively short amount of time. And so to me, that's dangerous. But see, what we do, some of the things that we do, we are so focused on the goal. We're so focused on the end game that we fail to realize that the necessity of taking care and making sure physically that we're in shape and developed enough to move forward. Okay. Now, not only that, but psychologically. Okay, psychologically, because some people really, they were on the brink of really losing emotionally and mentally, cognitively and psychologically. Some of them their cheese was about ready to slide off the cracker. I mean, and you could tell that by some of their behaviors. And not only that, but then you could, because the camera would be on and they would just be talking to the camera, but you could hear some of the conversation, the cognitions, the cognitiveness, or the mental, or the psychological, that begin to play a role, and you could see in some cases where they were not developed intellectually. Some of them they had the ability to be survivalists, so they knew how to do the things that were necessary and what they needed to do to survive in that environment. But it's more to it than just surviving in an environment. There really is. There's more about you. And this is one of the things I heard one of the contestants say. He said it's not so much about the external. It's the internal. It's the internal, and that's all I'm talking about. The developmental, the 8 elements of masculine and feminine development, for the most part, are internal. Are the internal aspects of your humanity. Your humanity is important that you develop in all these places, because if you're challenged with something like this, it will the chinks in the armor begin to show, and that's what happened. That's what begin to happen. You can see the chinks in the armor in the areas where these people were not adequately developed. They were not adequately developed. Sure, they intellectually, sure, they had for the most part. I mean, you had people that knew the right kind of plants that they could eat. There were people that knew how to read tracks to tell you what kind of animal that was. There were people that were able to trap. They were able to hunt. They could bow and arrows because they couldn't use guns. They were able to show to identify different kinds of, again, plants that they could and couldn't eat. It was phenomenal. Intellectually, they had most of them, for the most part, had the experience and the intellect to do what was necessary. But it goes to show you that it's not all about intellect. Your intellectual development is critical. It is important. It is very, very important. But we've got to understand that it's not the only thing. It is not the only thing. So it's important that we understand all 8 of the elements of masculine and feminine development. Now, again, these were both men and women that were on this program, and you could see, you know, the feminists, and you could see the I am equal and we can do this. We can do it as well as an equal as men, but no women won. But I mean, oh, spoiler alert. Shouldn't have said that. But they represented themselves well. I will say that they did represent themselves very, very well. I forgive me for that, saying that I should not have said that, and I'm going to edit that piece out. But one of the things that became a very, very important aspect as well was not only the loneliness, but you know, I saw some of the people doing things that were very, very unsafe, to the point that they injured themselves. I mean, you're like, oh, that's not the way to do that, you know. And I'm not even that adept at, you know, those kind of environments. But being in the prior military, I do have some experience, but enough to know that I don't do that way. You know, that's dangerous. You can hurt yourself, and you could see a lot of that happen, and it did. People get hurt because you know we allow things to blind us to common sense. Some people just have no business being out there at all. Why did they let them do that? I don't know. Maybe that was the whole idea, to show. I don't know. But anyway, so there was this whole safety thing. You know, sometimes, you know, people were doing things that I deemed to be unsafe. And being away from appropriate water, appropriate food, and appropriate rest and environment, these people begin to get sick. Now, when we start talking about sickness, you know, I know there's things that occur that we have no control over. But for the most part, and what I heard some of them say is, you know, they had regrets to some of the things, some of the choices that they made that they should have made other choices. Well, hindsight is 20/20. We all know that. But the bottom line is, we should do what we know is right. See, there's a difference between what is right and what is good. I say it all the time. It might be good for the moment, but it may not be the right thing. And eventually it's going to show up that it may have been good, but it was the wrong thing to do. So it's always those things that are right. What is the right thing to do? Now, someone said, well, it's whatever's right for me. Okay, it is. Well, no doubt. It has to be what's right for you. But the bottom line is you have to do what's right as opposed to what is good. Because what is good may seem like it's good. And it may, to some certain degree. You know, but at the same token, it's not right. Okay, so the other thing that I noticed is that people lack ingenuity, the ability to think outside the box. Very regimented folks, but there were some that did some tremendous thinking outside the box. Okay, and it's important that we be able to do that. And what I see in America is we're less thinking out of the box than most countries when we used to be the leader in that. And it's because we don't want to change from the way it used to be. This is the way we've always done it. Yeah, okay, but it's time to change from that. See, it calls for innovation and ingenuity for us to begin to move forward. But a lot of people don't want to do that because they don't want to move. They don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose their title. They don't want to lose that prestige, their money, their whatever. But the bottom line is, it's a result of that, you know, that drives nepotism, right, and favoritism, right, and racism, all the isms you want, because of not wanting or wanting to maintain a certain level, a certain position. right? So I found that to be very, very uh, uh, important in watching this series. There were some people that were very, very innovative, very, very innovative, and then there were some that could not think outside the box for the life of them. For the life of them, they did the same thing over and over and over and over without change. See, repentance means changing your mind. And when you change your mind, you change the way you do things. You don't continue to do the same thing. I know the 12-step program says that to continue to do the same thing over and over is insanity, right? So you don't continue to do the same thing over and over thinking that you're going to get a different result. You may, but the chances of that are probably slim to none. So you have to be innovative and use some ingenuity on how to meet the challenge differently. Whatever challenge you're facing, you need to be innovative, right? Use ingenuity to meet the challenge. Think outside the box. It's easy to say 1, 2, 3, 4. It's easy to do that. Everybody will do that. But what happens when you do 1, 2, 3, 4 and it doesn't work? Do you continue to do 1, 2, 3, 4? Or you do something at 4, 3, 2, 1, or whatever you have to do and get a result. So that was and part of that ingenuity, that innovation comes from cognition, comes from mental development. Okay, the ability to think outside the box, not being stuck, right? Not being stuck. That's the problem in America today. We're stuck. And we don't, and for the most part, many don't care because all they want is what they want. And it's not about the betterment of everyone. It's just my 4 and no more. Okay. The other thing that I noticed about this series is I noticed the whole chronological piece, the age and aging. Most of these people were of, I think the youngest that I saw were in the late 20s, and I don't think I saw anybody over. No one. I didn't see. I don't think anyone 50. I think maybe 40, 45, maybe something like that. Maybe not even that far. I don't know. But chronologically, their ability to be able to do and to traverse and to manage their age is very, very played an important role, very important role. And so your age, okay, but then there were some people that were older that seemed to be very young, and vice versa, young that seemed to be very old, and it had a lot to do with fitness. Okay, the physiological part and the chronological part seems to go together so often. That's it, especially in America. That's what we look at. We look at the chronological, your age, and we look at your body and your or the physiological, your body and your body type and your body build. Okay, so these were very, very important aspects of how they went about doing what they did. And you could see that some people were limited in what they could do and couldn't do. And that's because of age, right? It was because of chronological development or the lack thereof, right? And physiological development, okay? The lack of that or the progression. I mean, it seemed like they wouldn't take certain people a certain age, but I don't know because they did show you their age and everything like that. Now, when we talk about the psychological piece and the psychological development, okay, I think one of the most important pieces is to understand yourself psychologically, because there's what I saw is a lot of psychological stress that was placed on them, whether that stress was environmentally, because there was some environmental stresses. You had grizzly bears, Grizzly bears that would come into their camp. They would have mountain lions come into their camp, right? There were all kinds of predator kinds of animals coming into their site. Now that will develop upon your and develop psychological stress. And on top of the other things that were a part of the whole trip as well. I mean, but this added psychological stress, the weather, right? Gathering food, all these psychological stressors became very, very prevalent. Hunger became very, very prevalent. Drinking water, getting the right kind of drinking water, shelter became a big issue. And then some were even having hallucinations. So what are we talking about? We're talking about mental. We've got to, and we've got to understand these elements of development, and we need to develop them. How do you develop them? How do you develop? Well, you can't develop them until first you understand what element that you're dealing with. What elements are you dealing with? I remember hearing one individual talking about from a philosophical developmental piece. He began to talk about what was important to him before he got there, and as he has spent time in the challenge, he began to see his paradigm begin to change, and he began to see things, and things began to come more clearly, and his priority and the way he saw the world began to change philosophically. And so there were some philosophical paradigm changes taking place by these people as well, and some physiological paradigm challenges as well that would force them to make new paradigms. Okay, it was amazing. It was amazing to see. It was very, very. And what I saw is also with some of the philosophical and psychological, mental and cognitive development, lack thereof, there was great emotionalism attached. And there were many people that made decisions based on their emotions. Many people made rational or irrational choices based on their emotions, not looking at the cognitive, the mental, right, the psychological. There were people that were trying to stay there that had no business staying there. You have to understand when it's time for change. And it's important that we have the proper development, that we're not prideful and not too prideful, and that we have the proper development to say, okay, I've done all that I can do, as Popeye said. Say I've stood all I can stand, and I can't stand no more. Okay, but you have to get to that place where you know that, and be honest to the truth, and honest with yourself, cognitively, mentally, psychologically, philosophically, mentally. You've got to get to these places that you understand that you have to do what's right. See, that's the key premise, to do what's right as opposed to what's good. Because some of these people, what's good, what would be good for me is to get that $500,000 and to be able to change my life. And then, but all the while they're doing that, his body is wasting away. Her body is wasting away. Right? Not eating. Eating things that are just not. I mean, some of the things these people were eating. I mean, tree bark. Tree bark. I mean, these people were eating things, leeches, mucus. Don't get me started on that one. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, these people were the things that people will do that they say that they will never do if the right psychological stressors are put on them. You'll be surprised what people will do. Our history is known for that, isn't it? Okay. So here we have these people who are challenged challenged by everything that you can imagine. You're challenged by everything that you can imagine because they think that $500,000, $500,000, is going to change the way that they live their lives. And it may. I mean, I don't know how some people live. Some people, maybe for some people that is more than enough. Everybody doesn't live the same way, right? Not everybody. But the chances, the stressors and the chances they took were to me unfathomable. Really, I couldn't see myself do it. But everybody has their own. Now, excuse me. One of the things that I noticed that was very, very important and to me also um, was how they interacted with the environment. There were people that were actually spoke to the environment. They expressed gratitude and appreciation. They asked for permission, right? I mean, some of the things that they did was just very, very respectful. But you could see that for some it was a cultural thing. Is the way that they were raised. It was their appreciation, their gratitude for for what's around them. Not all of us have that. Not all of us have that. But anyway, I thought um, this particular program series was was outstanding, and it showed me um, the the power of the human will. Um, People stayed out there for a long time, and then there were some people that didn't make it hardly any. But the bottom line is, even the ones that didn't make it hardly any, they're to be applauded. I mean, if you go out there and spend one day in the environment they were in, you have to understand that it was not an easy thing. It just couldn't have been. It's just no way. But neither is what you're going through, what you're living, and what you're going through right now. You know, your situation is unique. Your situation can be trying, but your development in areas that those 8 elements of masculine and feminine development are very critical in how you're going to handle what you're going through. Okay. And there's things that you can do. And one of the things that we do at Purpose Quest International is to help you to develop in these 8 areas, to strengthen you in these 8 areas, to help you identify through SWOT analysis how to strengthen yourself in areas where you might not be as strong. And maybe if some of that could have taken place, maybe they would have been able to last longer. Or at least to be able to identify what area that they need work in and focus in on that like a laser, as we at PQI would train you and give you skills to focus in like a laser on that particular developmental process to allow you to become more strengthened in that area. I guess is the easiest word to use. Okay, so I want you to do me a favor. Would you do me a favor right now? Would you subscribe to the channel? Would you do that for me right now while we're sitting here? I'm just going to give you a few seconds to do that. I'm just going to be quiet. And while you're doing that, would you like, share, and hit the notification bell? Thank you. I appreciate it highly that you would do that for us because um, one of the things this particular series did is allow me to ruminate, elevate, and to activate. And I believe the activation piece is this right here. Is this right here? I'm talking to you about this whole idea of the 8 elements of masculine and feminine development. Now I can go further into this program, but I don't want to do that because spoiler alert, I don't want to do that to you. But I would say that you probably want to go and check it out. It is on Netflix, and I mean you may not be able to look at the whole thing, but I looked at this current season, but there are some seasons before this season, and it was very very enlightening, very very enlightening. I do think I do have some suspicions about some things as well. I do think that some things were set up. It was just too coincidental. just it just and how things would happen for some folks and not others. But anyway, I think, and then I may be that may be some of my stuff. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I really enjoyed watching it, and I took a lot away from it. There's other things that I'm going to be doing with that information that I gleaned from that series. It was good. It was good. Anyway, I'm hoping that you got something out of that. And believe it or not, we've kept it relatively short tonight, even with the broadcast going out. I'm really really pleased with that. I'm hoping everything worked out and it didn't chop me off or anything like that. But that it did go blank. I don't know if it went blank where you are, but it did go blank, and my monitor went off and it went off on the computer as well. So I'm hoping things worked out, and we'll see. I'm going to go back and look at it. But anyway, I'm hoping that you would stay connected with me again during this trip that I'm getting ready to go on out west to Las Vegas, and I hope that you would tune into with me while I go out there and take care of some things. All right. Till the next time we are able to come together, as usual. I enjoy being with you. Enjoy being with me too. So we're going to play this and say goodnight.
In our current global climate, we're facing challenges never before experienced by this generation. Oppositions where no one seems to have clear directions or answers to the risks facing us. Confrontations like racial and gender unrest, political gerrymandering, toxic leadership, economic crisis, global pandemic, health threats, pre-existing medical conditions, isolation, boredom, and loneliness are driving people to desperation. As a result, people are confused, afraid, anxious, and perplexed, and they need answers to some tough questions and even tougher situations. They are looking into different outlets for answers to gain assurance and consolation. Some have drawn closer to the embrace of family, while others look more towards their friendships, education, and even religion. What we need is a fresh voice of truth and clarity, and not a stale religious echo from the past. There's a re-emerging voice on the horizon that isn't afraid to stand alone and give spiritual and mentally sound direction to a world searching for answers. G. Alfred Palmer offers a voice of sound human development and empowerment to those willing to hear. There's a need for new ideas to old principles, a perspective from a timeless origin, but with current vision, a thought leader who understands what it means to stand alone and speak truth when some are hard of hearing. But if you've been waiting to hear a voice that opens the gates of freedom and breaks the shackles of confusion to allow you to step forward into the dawning of a new and exciting future, Then it's time to bridge the gap with Dr. G. Alfred Palmer. He is a dynamic speaker, thought leader, and entrepreneur, equipped to elevate, expand, and extend the development, empowerment, and leadership of his audiences. He stands ready to speak at your next event. His delivery is guaranteed to refresh, entertain, and transform. G. Alfred Palmer bridges the gap from uncertainty to the purpose, to passion, and leadership. Book him today for your next event, and you won't be disappointed.